Can we actually train our brains to notice things that other people miss? Can we get better at finding things like keys that we lose in our house, or noticing anomalies when you're wandering around, or being able to pay attention to things in your periphery when you're driving your car? Or is it just inevitable that as you get older, those abilities are going to decline? Well, there's a study published in 2025. Some researchers at McGill University looked into this question, and they did a fascinating study. They studied a group of people 65 and older, and they wanted to look at whether or not this kind of decline that happens in us every decade could actually be reversed. Now, here's where this comes from. There's a system in the brain that's sort of like a spotlight system. It allows you to notice anomalies faster. It allows you to see things in your periphery. It gives you all sorts of capacities. And what the researchers have found is that they can actually physically identify a 2.5% decline every decade in a person's life. And that starts even in the early years. So from 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, and so on. And so if you go from 20 to 60, you're going to see a 10% decline in these systems in the brain that directly impact your ability to notice anomalies, to see those nuances, to see things in your periphery, and to notice things quickly. So here's what they did in the study. They took this group of people, 65 and older, and they gave them a challenge. It was a 10-week challenge. They were supposed to spend 35 hours. And if you break it down, that makes it about 30 minutes a day. I'm not sure if the study actually prescribed that they had to do it 30 minutes a day, but over 10 weeks, 30 minutes a day would get you to the 35 hours prescribed in the study. And they broke the people up into two groups. One group was asked to play simple games, I think things like the game Solitaire on a computer. And these are games that they might have been quite familiar with. They don't force you to stretch yourself in a significant way. It's not speed-based, and there are some limitations to that kind of a game. It can be fun, and lots of people think that it can help them learn and grow and increase their thinking capacity, but that was the one group. The other group, though, they had a set of specific computerized games that were focused upon training them in terms of speed and accuracy. Speed and accuracy of noticing things, noticing anomalies and nuances and things in their peripheral vision. And then at the end of the time period, they looked at the results of these two groups of people. And when I say they looked at the results, it wasn't just testing their capacity. It wasn't a behavioral study. They were actually looking at the physical traits of the brain. And they saw in the group that engaged in the speed and accuracy games, they saw a 2.3 or 2.4% increase in those systems in the brain. In the group that was playing games like Solitaire, there was no significant increase or change. So here's what's interesting about this. Because the study was looking at these physical systems in the brain, there's some possibility here that's kind of encouraging. So there have been studies, for example, of things like crossword puzzles and Sudoku and other kinds of games that people enjoy playing, and they consider them to be brain games. And they think that if I play this a little bit every day, it's going to keep my brain sharp. But there's not a ton of research to suggest that actually happens, that it's actually having a change in the physical systems in your brain that's helping you to regain some of the losses that happen naturally as people get a little bit older. But the cool thing about this study is there are certain kinds of computerized games that can actually reverse some of the losses that happen. Think about this. We're looking at a 10-week study. 30 minutes a day for 10 weeks could get you to the 35 hours, and these specific exercises reverse something essentially 10 years. And I don't know, maybe there will be follow-up studies to see whether or not a 20-week regiment could reverse even more. I'm not sure. But what we do know is that there are things that you can do to increase your ability to notice things that others miss. There are exercises, mental exercises that we can do to get better at noticing things in our periphery, at seeing things that others miss, at noticing nuances, at being in a room where there are lots of people and there's a lot of noise, and being able to concentrate and focus on one person versus another. It's not something that you can just improve with willpower, but there are exercises that we can do that can change the systems in our brain and reverse some of the things that we might lose over time. That is encouraging news. So I am not going to give you the specific gains in this particular video because I'm still diving into this topic myself. I want to learn more about it. I want to figure out what are the exercises that will help and what are the ones that maybe sound good, but they don't actually improve our brain function very much. Because this channel is all about clear thinking, problem solving, decision making, and about solving those literal and metaphorical treasures in our lives. And I want to figure out how to improve my own capacity in those ways and then share what I find with you. So if that interests you, I encourage you to subscribe and follow along with future videos when I dive into this and other topics. I hope you find this useful. I look forward to your comments.